Right, welcome to part 2 of our podcast. We hope you enjoyed our first part and the first topic we spoke of. The second part that we're going to talk about, which was second on our Twitter poll that we put up, was talk of a potential of a heavyweight world boxing super series.
So over the weekend, Eddie Hearn was obviously talking about, it was put to him about, there'd be following obviously the success of the other World Boxing Super Series that we've seen, that the next one really would be a heavyweight World Boxing Super Series. My question key really is an obvious one. If it was to happen, within reason, obviously, what 8 fighters do you think would be in the heavyweight boxing Super Series?
Yeah, I mean, just the potential of it is very exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, the heavyweight division, as boxing fans, we know is probably the most exciting division.
Yeah.
I think even as, if there was casual boxing fans, should we say, I think the division that they most like to watch would be the heavyweight division, obviously, because of the potential for knockouts and, all action sort of thing. So it's something I definitely, and I'm sure, most of the boxing world would like to see happen.
I think, though, I mean, within reason, we'd have to say, if there was a World Boxing Super Series, I mean, there's the obvious few names that I don't think would be in it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we look in a sort of the champions and mandatories, aren't we? I mean, obviously, we wouldn't see Anthony Joshua featuring in it.
I don't think so, no.
We wouldn't see Andy Ruiz featuring in it.
No.
Obviously, their fight is scheduled to happen. And then you're looking at sort of the mandatories then. I mean, Usyk is WBO mandatory.
There's not really much in it, what would he gain from? He's better off, obviously, like we said, just sitting and waiting, really, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it looks very much like that Usyk is just in the waiting for the winner of Joshua and Ruiz being WBO mandatory. You look at Kubrat Pulev. Same situation. He's listed as sort of IBF mandatory, so we can't see him being involved in something like that. Ortiz and Wilder scheduled to fight each other. Do we see, obviously Wilder being WBC champion, can't see him taking part in
potentially franchise champion, but that's another topic to talk about.
Yeah, that's something definitely to discuss at a different time. Ortiz, I don't see him involved in it. And then, I mean, Tyson Fury. Well, I mean, he's involved in sort of everything at the moment, isn't he? I mean, but like you said, that's another conversation.
I think, like you said, Pulev's obviously waiting. There's no reason to go in there. Usyk's obviously waiting. Fury, I think, is also sat in the same waiting room, waiting for the outcome of Wilder Ortiz.
Yeah.
That's obviously Wilder 2 is what he wants. So, you said, I can't see Ruiz, AJ, Pulev, Usyk, Ortiz, Wilder or Fury being in there, because they've obviously, winning the World Boxing Super Series is not a lot for them to
gain out of it.
Unless, obviously, one of them goes in. Would that pull the other one in? That would be ideal, but I just can't see it.
No. I agree with you. I mean there's an obvious list that we've got in our heads. I mean, that you think would be exciting and we would like to see involved in this. But just before we go on to who those fighters are, what about sort of names of fighters that we think, right, they are exciting fighters in the division, and sort of perhaps it would be ones that we could say, just sort of throw in,
within reason. So, it's
Joe Joyce. Would you like to see Joe Joyce involved in something like this, or?
I mean, I'd like to see, the top fighters in it, but we know what boxing is like. What networks and managers and promoters are like. You can't see it happening. I would like to see Joe Joyce in there.
Yeah.
If Joe Joyce goes in there, I'd also like to see Daniel Dubois. I think a name I sort of missed off thinking about it.
Yeah.
But then you've got to think, is there more money in that standalone fight for Joe Joyce and Dubois? Is that for me, I think that's like the Wilder Fury is a standalone fight. I'd like to see both of them in there, but I just can't see Joe Joyce. I can't see Sam Jones putting him in there personally. What about you, Keith?
No, I agree with you, to be honest. I can't see either of the fighters you mentioned there in Dubois and Joyce being involved in it. I mean, there's other fighters that we could sort of mention, with maybe a little bit of potential of being involved in it. I mean,
what were the 8? If you were to think of from looking at what we know now, what 8 do you think would be in there?
Right, if I had to pick...
But let's have a think. Should we pick the top 4 because they seed these on this? What would you think the top 4 seeds would be?
If we pick a fighter each,
yeah,
and perhaps we can discuss over that then. So if I was going to pick a first fighter or someone I would like to see involved in it, it's going to be thrown out. I would like to see Michael Hunter involved in it.
Yeah. Do you think he'd be seeded, or would he be one of the ones that do you think people would pick? Because they have the top 4 seeds, and the top 4 seeds pick the other 4 fighters that are available that are not seeded. So do you think Hunter would be a seed, or do you think he'd be...
I think he'd be a pick, I do, to be honest with you. I think he would be a pick. But I think he'd be really fascinating to have in this format.
Do you think he'd be the last pick because of the
Yeah, I think he would be one of the last picks. Yeah, definitely. But I mean, he's sort of he's carrying his momentum in the heavyweight division at the moment.
Yeah, and he's quite. I mean, to the casual fan, I think he'd be unknown. I don't think he's not a
no exactly.
AJ, he's sort of known in the boxing world, but I think he's still on the way up, isn't he? Up and coming, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely.
But very dangerous.
That's what I think. We would get with Michael Hunter. I think he would be a dangerous fighter to have in it. And you're looking at some of the big guns, shall we say, who would be in there. I think. I don't think they would all fancy a fight with Michael Hunter much because of the potential of an upset. But I mean. Obviously, you've got some favourites. If I just throw another name in, Povetkin.
I think would definitely be a seed.
Yeah, he would be, wouldn't he? Yeah.
I mean, when you look at his, again, he's obviously 39, 40, he's getting on, but I think he definitely...
And he's been there and seen it all in boxing, hasn't he?
He's fought elite fighters, and, Klitschko and obviously Joshua, and recently beat Huey Fury. Yeah. So I think he'd definitely be a seed. I think I'd love to see Chisora in there as well. I think he'd have to be... He'd be a seed at the moment. Winning, obviously, post White 1 and 2. He's obviously definitely carrying momentum.
Yeah.
Obviously winning on the weekend against Price. Beating Spilka?
Yeah, that's right, Spilka, yeah.
Takam as well.
Big knockout that was as well, wasn't it? Worth mentioning that against Spilka.
So I think he's a seed.
What about... this interesting one I was thinking of is obviously Jared Miller.
There's no way he could be a seed, obviously.
He couldn't be a seed, but I mean, just the potential of him being in this. Now, what I would like to ask you is, what do you think would be the opinion of boxing fans with Miller being involved in something like this after what's gone on recently with him?
I think boxing fans, I think the traditional, boxing fan, we're pretty sort of unforgiving, obviously, with PEDs, and rightly so. Yeah. So but then Povetkin's in this, who kind of is a bit contradictory. Isn't it?
Of course it is.
But I think because it's so recent, would boxing fans like it? I don't think they would. Would promoters like it? I think they definitely would, because he's a great talker. There'd be a lot of, obviously, it'd be a talking point, the fact that Miller's in there. So I think he'd do a lot for selling.
Do you think he'd be sort of in there with a point to prove as well? Do you think he'd be a danger in this competition?
Yeah,
he's got a point to prove. Sort of thing?
You would assume that obviously he would be tested regularly. But I think for the selling side of it, I think it'd be great for the World Boxing Super Series to have him in there.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think people would tune in to watch him. I think people would want him to lose, obviously, because of what's happened.
Yeah.
Would I watch the fight? I think I would, wherever he was fighting.
You would. Yeah,
I think he'd be good for it, for the sort of like the pantomime villain sort of role that he would
play that role.
But from a boxing fan's perspective, no, obviously, because he is obviously a cheat. But I think I could see him going in there if they were to do it.
Do you think a risk sort of would be taken on him? With the potential of maybe a backlash from boxing fans with him being in because of the PEDs thing and the story of that. It's the Sutherland brothers that promote this, isn't it? Do you see them wanting to take a risk on him, or?
I think. Well, I think they would, because I think they would see him selling it. Obviously, there'd be a lot of outrage, I think, which I think would then attract a lot more people to it.
Yeah, add more to it.
Yeah. Obviously, Eddie Hearn's sort of in with the Sutherland brothers. He sort of promoted the last, the Taylor fight on the weekend, which is the World Boxing Super Series. So you know, that'd be an interesting dynamic. But I obviously saw an interview recently with them both talking, and they both seem to get on fine with each other. So, you know, like, yeah, I can see Miller. So far, then we've got sort of Povetkin and Chisora as the 2 seeds with Hunter and Miller. Who else do you think would? We've got 4 more places left. I
think an obvious one is Joseph Parker.
Yeah. Seed, or do you think he'd be a seed or a pick?
I think he'd be a seed, Joseph Parker.
I mean, ex-world champion.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah. You said, you know, he was world champion after beating Andy Ruiz. So I think Joseph Parker would be a seed in this. What would you fancy? How would you see Parker's chances in something like this?
Well, looking at
do you feel with Parker he's still got a bit of a point to prove? Do you get that impression from him and his team?
I mean, he's quite a small. I mean, I know he's 6'3", but I mean, I always see Parker as one of the smaller heavyweights. So I've always thought, you know, coming up against the bigger ones, bigger sort of fighters, I think he'd sort of struggle. Yeah. But I think, you know, I think he'd do quite well. I think he'd do quite well in this sort of...
in this format?
Yeah, with the because I think, you know, he's sort of around the same sort of level of fighters. There's no one in here I'm looking, you know, I'm thinking, oh yeah, you know, he wouldn't be able to, you know, he'd be outboxed by him. So I think this would be a great move for Parker, only because they don't know where he goes next. I mean, he's had the unification fight, you know, he's fought White, he lost, you know, where is he going at the moment? I think his career is sort of in a bit of a fork in the road. So I think this would be ideal for Joseph Parker, and like you said, I think he would be a seed. I mean, who else? Who would be the? What
about you, Scott? I mean, is there somebody that you would pick?
I think the next sort of seed, this sort of I think I would pick. I think would be an outsider. Actually, I think would be, you know, if I was a betting man, I think I would put my money. I think Hrgovic would be wouldn't be a seed, but I think he'd be a great pick.
There's a lot of hype around him as well, isn't it? I mean, Ed Ewan talks...
he's promoted by Matt. Does he promote him?
Yes, he is. Yeah, he is promoted him, yeah.
I mean...
That's from USA.
So, I think that would be, you know, another great pick. I don't particularly know much about him, if I'm being completely honest. I've seen a few sort of recent fights.
He's a very accomplished amateur, isn't he? Yeah. He's a lot of talk
is he
about
like,
him.
Has he got the Eastern European style to his fight?
Yes, he has, yeah. And I mean...
up straight and sort of jab, is that sort of his...
Yeah, that's right.
And he carries power, obviously.
Am I right in saying, I'm sure he fought during the amateurs? I think it was in the amateurs boxing super series, I think it was.
All right.
I'm sure he had a fight with Joe Joyce.
Right.
Be interesting to see.
Did Joe Joyce beat him?
I think he did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. We'd have to check up on that.
Yeah.
Maybe any fans on our Twitter could perhaps comment underneath. And just let us know.
There's a link, or to a YouTube link to watch the fight back.
It'd be great. I'd love to see that. But I know they fought, but I'm not sure what the outcome of that fight was.
Yeah.
So yeah, Hrgovic would be another one, definitely. Yeah.
What do you think about? Okay, so we've talked about Miller, you know, being the sort of bad boy of the World Boxing Super Series if he was in there. Do we put Dillian White with under that category? Because obviously there's a lot of speculation around his sort of career at the moment. What do you think about Dillian White going in there? Can you see that happening?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a grey area at the moment, isn't it, with Dillian White? Nobody seems to be...
Nobody knows sort of anything about what's going on.
Nobody can put a pin in something and say, right, that's what's happening. This is what's going on at the moment with Dillian White. I mean, it's a question that sort of all boxing fans are asking.
Everyone's still sort of waiting for the outcome.
Yeah. I mean, Dillian White is just talking about Dillian White in general is a fight that I don't know about yourself. I love watching.
Yeah.
I love his style. I love the way that he will fight anyone. He seems fearless in that fact. You know, he will literally take any fight, and he's definitely deserving of. I mean, how long has he been mandatory for?
It's got to be almost a year. No, is it 600 days? They were saying
something along those lines. Yeah, which, you know, obviously is a long time, but.
I think he said recently that I think Suleiman from the WBC said that 2021, I think they said that he would possibly get that fight against Wilder. Obviously, if Wilder remains undefeated, I mean, you think then that's another...
And that fight's been waiting for a long time.
You're talking 4 years, that would be then. When you think 600 days, another 2 years, you know. So
I mean, how long ago does that video seem? You know the video after his fight where he shouted, right, let's go. You know that famous video.
Yeah.
I mean, how long ago does that seem? That seems like a lifetime.
I think that was
ago.
after Lucas Brown, I think.
That was after Lucas Brown fight, yeah.
So, I mean, do we put him in the weighting category then? Does he... Well, that's the only thing is, it's a bit of a long time to wait, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, yeah, it's a difficult one to comment on with Dillian White.
I think maybe we'll keep it until he, I think, finds out what UCAD are going to rule.
Yeah.
I think maybe we'll put him in the grey area at the moment. and keep him there.
Definitely. So what we got so far, Scott?
Seeds, we've got Povetkin, Chisora and Parker. And then the picks, sort of the non-seeded fighters there, we've got Hunter, Miller and Hrgovic. So that last seed we're looking for now, what do you think
the last seed
is a difficult one, really, because the remaining ones are sort of all around the same level.
Yeah.
I mean,
what about Oscar Rivas?
Yeah. I mean,
somebody you like seeing there?
I mean, his only defeat is to White, isn't it? And
yeah.
You know, I mean, he would. I suppose he'd have to be a seed, I suppose.
I would think that you could put Rivas in as a seed.
Yeah, I mean, the ones we've this is the sort of, we've made like a little list. The ones we got left, obviously, are Rivas. I mean, Huey Fury. I mean, he's kind of a loss for me. I can't see him being a seed.
No, I wouldn't personally. I wouldn't put Huey down as a seed. And you've got
people then like Adam Kownacki, who was obviously quite ranked highly, but hasn't really fought many. Brazil's coming off a loss. Martin, well, so I think, like you said, Rivas for me would be the only seed. He's on one loss. He recently fought White. There's a lot of speculation around the gloves and about obviously failing a test around that. So I think Rivas would be our last sort of seed.
What do you think of? I'm going to throw a bit of spanner in the works. What do you think of the potential of having Dave Allen in this? what do you think? I mean, as due to his sort of sort of the people's champ, isn't he? He's so popular over social media, and I'm just in general with most boxing fans. Would you see? I mean, obviously, looking at that Price fight, I mean, and then looking at the way Price, how convincingly sort of Chisora beat Price.
Yeah,
it sort of gauged the level that Allen is probably at. Yeah. Right? Maybe we sort of got carried a little bit away with the hype train with Allen because he is such a popular figure. But would you like to see him in something like this? I think as boxing fans, most personally, I'd love to see him involved in something like this. What about yourself?
I'd love to see him in there, but not from like a boxing obviously perspective. I'd love to see Dave Allen in there. One, because he's a character. Yeah. Two, obviously because he's going to be paid well. Yeah. But like you said, would David Price be a seed? No, he wouldn't be. No, he'd be a pick. So I mean, Dave Allen would come up against Povetkin, Chisora, Parker or Rivas. I don't think Dave Allen's in the right place mentally at the moment. No. A fit Dave Allen, I don't know. I'm going to say no. I think this would be maybe. Could he win it? No. So then there's no way. There's no way. Once he gains, he's just going to get another loss, another stoppage possibly. I mean, I can't see him beating Povetkin. I can't see him beating Chisora. Yeah. Parker would be interesting because Parker's not a heavy hitter, is he? Rivas or... So who do you see? I mean, obviously... Who's the last pick then? Yeah, who do you have as your last pick? I sort of like Tony Yorker, but I know obviously, again, drugs, I'm not really sure. What about Otto Wallin? What about him? I mean, after what we saw of him against Fury, what do you think? I think it'd be good then, obviously, we'd find out then, wouldn't we, whether the Fury fight was a one-off, was he lucky, with that cut, I mean, we saw in that fight one, obviously Fury got cut, two, dirty tactics, we say, with the grabbing of the cut. I mean, I thought it was a bit dirty of Wallin to be sort of trying to open the cut up with his glove. Yeah. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, the last place is a bit tricky. Obviously, we got the likes of, Wallin. We've got. I mean, does Huey Fury deserve a place? I mean, he put up a good fight against Povetkin. He wasn't, it wasn't, outclassed, was he? It was no, it was a competitive fight. Yeah, it was a competitive fight, wasn't it? So I think the last place really would be, well, It's a pick 'em, you know.
Should we pick one, and then perhaps we can go on to discuss like who we put as our favourite to win from the fighters that we've put in?
Yeah, I mean, who would you see as the last one deserved of the place, do you think?
Well, personally looking at it, I think, like you said, I think we'd be looking at sort of two fighters, maybe Hughie Fury, like you said,
Yeah.
and obviously I mentioned Otto Wall, and it'd be interesting to see him in there.
Yeah.
So should we go for one of those two?
I mean, I'd say Fury, only because
Fury?
he's fought
Yeah, I agree.
Povetkin, he's fought Parker, you know, he's willing to fight. Wallen is somebody we don't really know, apart from that 1 points victory against Fury.
And as you said, I mean, with Wallen, we're still waiting to see if it was a one-off, aren't we? So yeah, so should we go with Hughie Fury?
Yeah, so we've got Povetkin just over Parker, Rivas, so the seeds, and then we've got the Hunter, Miller, Hrgovic and Fury. I mean, who would you have if you had to pick out of those? I mean, let's have a little look at these list of names again. Who do you see as the favourite to win this before, if this did happen? I mean, I'd say Povetkin, obviously, on what we know about Povetkin, but then, I mean, by the time, obviously, this is going to, time this takes to finish, time it gets to the final, you're talking a year, maybe a bit longer. He's going to be in his 40s. What do you think of Chisora's chances? I mean, he's got momentum. I think he can beat any of the sort of the picks there. I mean, Chisora, Hunter, Chisora, Miller, Chisora, Hrgovic, Chisora, Fury. I don't see any of them beating Chisora. I'd
fancy Chisora's chances in this much more than I would. I mean, are we talking about Chisora's carrying momentum, right?
Yeah.
But are we talking of Chisora now as a genuine world title contender? Could you see Chisora now fighting one of the world champions in every division and actually competing? Do I stand there or winning it? Can we or can we not?
Well, he's obviously the WBO Intercontinental champion, whatever that means. I know.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's waiting to be ranked with the WBO. He's not ranked with them currently, so that's obviously got to mean something. They obviously calling out Usyk, so obviously David Hay and Haymaker Promotions fancy his chances against him. So I
with Chisora, could you see him beating? Right, we've got AJ Ruiz, the winner of that, right?
Yeah.
We've got Wilder, obviously.
Yeah.
Could you, for a start, could you see him beating any of those three fighters? What would be your opinion on that?
I mean, obviously, as a heavyweight, you've got the puncher's chance. You can obviously end. Anybody can beat anybody.
Yeah.
But if you take that away, no, on paper, I can't. I mean, I can't see him beating AJ. I can't see him beating Wilder. No. I'd love to see the fights. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, I think I love seeing Chisora in any. I mean, Chisora's fantastic with any fighters. I mean, he, obviously we enjoy the build-ups, don't we? With Chisora, he definitely brings the excitement to the fights.
I mean, I think the final. I mean, no, I can't see beating any of the top ranked, the elite heavyweights. The Pulevs, the AJ Ruiz, Wilder sort of fighters. Fury. Well, he's already lost to Fury twice, isn't he? So that says something. Yeah. I mean, I think this is why the World Boxing Super Series would be ideal for Del Boy, because I think he could definitely get the final, and I think anything can happen in the final. I think he could definitely win it.
I think something like this would suit him a lot better.
Povetkin Chisora final would be very interesting. And, well, what would be ideal, I think, for the promoters would be the Chisora Parker final, because obviously that was just cancelled. He pulled out that fight a few weeks back, so that was sort of tick that box then.
It's only the spider bite that's prevented us seeing it, isn't it? But there's still a potential for that to happen.
I think with this, obviously, the heavyweight World Boxing Super Series is so much. I mean, we could talk about it for hours. There's so many different fighters. But
if we summarise what we've got so far, I mean, if we name again, our seeds are Povetkin, Chisora, Parker, Rivas.
Yeah.
And then we said about our picks would be Hunter, Miller, Hrgovic, Fury. Pick your winner, Scott, and I'll pick mine.
It's a really tricky one. I think if I was the obvious winner for me would be Povetkin.
Yeah.
But I think maybe if I was I think Povetkin or Chisora personally. What do you think? You're going to throw a spanner in the works and go for one of the picks? What are you going to do?
I would love to, because I think it would make this a little bit more exciting if I did. But I I got to agree with you. I think the final, I would love to see the final of this being, you know, Povetkin and Chisora. I think that'll be a great final. But I'm gonna, you would edge toward Povetkin, yeah?
I think so, yeah. Just on
experience and
his work is very good. He's a
He's a
better
busy
all-round fighter than Delbo.
He's a busy fighter as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I go on, and I'll go the opposite way. I'll go Chisora.
Oh, okay.
Chisora to win it,
well,
just to keep it interesting.
If you think we've missed anybody, or if you have a different opinion, that's, you know, make sure you comment and, you know, write who you think should have been in there or we missed, or what your prediction would be. We'd obviously love to hear it on Twitter or Facebook. And
I think just to close this section as well of our podcast, I think what we will do over the next couple of days, we will put a little poll up on our platforms just to see what the interest would be from you guys on actually having an heavyweight world boxing super series.